Olympic gold medalist Vivien bids farewell to full-time fencing. And free sporting facilities across the city in sport for all day in Hong Kong. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Olympic fencing gold medalist Vivien has announced her departure from professional fencing on social media. She said she aims to accumulate experience in order to set up a charity fund. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Having captivated the whole city during her epic gold medal match at the Paris Olympic Games, women's FA champion Vivien was granted a $6 million cash reward by the Hong Kong Jockey Club. The 30-year-old fencer had previously indicated a change in career direction after a return to the city. When asked about whether she would continue training after a return, Kong said she would like to give new talent the opportunity to compete in high-level competitions. Posting on social media earlier today, Kong bid farewell to her professional fencing career, noting that she had spent 20 years training tirelessly for the sport, and added that she wanted to take a break after her third Olympic Games. Kong said she looks forward to her new career and is preparing herself to give back to the city. She noted she will accumulate experience to set up a charity fund aimed at boosting children's interest in sports. Kong once again thanked her family, friends, and fellow fencing team members for their support, saying, "Once a fencer, always a fencer." Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Hong Kong badminton players Jordan Tang and Ying Sut, quarterfinalists at the Paris Olympics, have returned to the city. The Hong Kong badminton team was welcomed by fans and family members at the airport this morning. The team members include Jordan Tang and Ying Sut, who played in the mixed doubles. Tse said she has no regrets despite suffering from injuries. The quarterfinalist said she had enjoyed playing in the Olympics and gave her best in all matches. Jordan Tang, meanwhile, said they will rest for a while before preparing for 2 upcoming Open tournaments. With many Hong Kong people gripped with Olympic fever, Sunday was also the government's Sport for All Day. That means that today residents can use public sports facilities for free. Mo Singai reports.
The public swimming pool was busy at Kowloon Park this morning. A notice about the Sport for All Day was placed outside the entrance, informing the public that sports facilities are open for free use. While residents needed to submit a balloting application in advance through the app Smart Play for free use of indoor and outdoor facilities, booking was not required for public swimming pools. This man had planned to swim, but he was not aware of the benefit. He welcomed the idea of having more sport for all days.
I had no idea, but I think it's a great idea. Swimming pools are really cheap here, so I won't wait, but still it's a great idea. I would say, like comparing to Europe or US, people look more fit here, in Asia in general, so I would say they do more sports.
Tourists who passed by the swimming pool also supported the concept of using free leisure facilities.
I would love to go swimming with my daughter. It's perfect.
Some people said sports should be further promoted as a culture in the city, even outside the period of the Olympics.
The Leisure and Cultural Services Department also held multiple sports and leisure programs in the afternoon, including health talks and fitness corners. Chief Executive John Lee and Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yuan visited the Tai Po Sports Center, where children could play different games. Yuan took part in a few games, such as Dodge for Fun. News 9, TVB News.
The government's Digital Policy Office was officially set up in late July under the Innovation, Technology and Industry Bureau with the aim of enhancing government digital services and efficiency. Amid such digital transformation initiatives, is the government doing enough to prevent cyber attacks and system crashes? Jackie Lin sought answers from Tony Wong, Commissioner of the newly established office.
Around a week into its operations, the Digital Policy Office was tasked with multiple missions. Front and center is to integrate systems across different government departments into one single app, I Am Smart.
To provide a unified and convenient user interface. So I Am Smart will be this single platforms.
But in our digital transformation, it begs the question of social inclusion. What about the elderly? What about those who are not as digitally savvy?
In the future, we are working closely with the communities, in particular the elderly communities, service provider, to help these communities to learn the technologies, to use it.
There will be a simplified version of the I Am Smart app for the elderly. Apart from strengthening the scanning and detection of loopholes with automated tools, there will be efforts to beef up the responsiveness when cyber attacks happen. Wang said the government is inviting mainland tech companies, including Integrity Tech and Qianxin, specializing in cybersecurity, to coach and set up large-scale attack and defense drills. Such drills will be conducted in the government department's real digital environment and in real time. But the government manages more than 3,000 systems and digital platforms across different departments. What about the cost?
Any ballpark figures in terms of the cybersecurity testing?
We will using a risk-based approach. We will select those systems which is public-facing and have a major impact to our public surveys.
Wang said the office does not have a set budget earmarked for cybersecurity purposes yet, but priority will be given to around 1,000 apps from around 80 government departments. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan said he will step up efforts to organize overseas visits in the second half of the year to seek more opportunities for Hong Kong. Chan noted on a blog that he will soon visit Europe, the United States, Australia, and the Middle East. He said the purpose of his trips is to secure Hong Kong's traditional markets and to seek new sources of business. The FS stressed that the city's economy continues to face challenges and urged different sectors to pour in resources and make good use of technology to strive for opportunities. Still ahead, protests across the Middle East and beyond as tensions rise in the region. Venezuela's opposition leader joins crowds in massive demonstration. Right-wing protesters clash with the police in the UK. Welcome back. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has described the weapon used in Wednesday's assassination in Tehran of Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Palestinian group Hamas. State television reported that Israel was responsible for the attack and they were supported by the United States. Iran has vowed revenge. Nazvi Karim with more.
State television quoted the Iran Revolutionary Guard as saying a short-range rocket with a 7-kilogram warhead was used to destroy the Tehran residence housing Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh, killing him and his bodyguard. It accused Israel of carrying out the attack, supported by the U.S. Israel has so far neither confirmed nor denied involvement. The statement also called for revenge, saying Israel can expect harsh punishment at a suitable time, place and capacity. In Iraq's capital, Baghdad, hundreds of people took to the streets carrying Palestinian flags, pictures of Haniyeh and chanting anti-Israel slogans. A different kind of demonstration in London on Saturday, with pro-Palestinian supporters marching through the streets to mark 300 days of a war that has cost almost 40,000 lives and demanding a ceasefire. This as Israel sent a delegation to Cairo, Egypt for talks on a possible ceasefire that US President Joe Biden is hoping will yield positive results, despite fears that Haniyeh's killing has dismantled hopes that any deal can be reached. While in Delaware, Biden was asked if he thinks Iran will stand down from carrying out its threats. With Israel also killing a senior commander from Lebanon's Hezbollah, the US is trying to prevent the Gaza conflict from turning into a regional war. The U.S. Embassy in Lebanon has already advised its citizens to leave the country and book any available ticket. Meanwhile, Israel continued to hit targets in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. 4 people were killed in a strike on a tent camp near the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in central Gaza. And a hit on a school for the displaced in the north resulted in an unknown number of casualties. In the West Bank, 5 Palestinian fighters were killed after Israeli forces destroyed the car they were traveling in. As tensions rise, inside Israel, a woman was killed and 3 others wounded in a Tel Aviv suburb after being stabbed by a person described by Israel as a militant, who was later neutralized. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado led a massive demonstration in Caracas on Saturday in response to last week's controversial presidential elections. Machado and her allies greeted supporters from the top of a truck at the site, where thousands of demonstrators were gathered, cheering her with a chant of freedom, freedom. Protests have plagued the country since the National Electoral Council, controlled by the ruling party, proclaimed President Nicolas Maduro the winner. The opposition has not recognized the result. Both Maduro and his opponents have claimed victory, while international pressure grows to find a negotiated solution. In the middle of the electoral dispute, the Supreme Court of Justice asked the electoral body on Friday to record the tally sheets of the polling stations within 3 days. Nearly 100 arrests have been made in the United Kingdom after more unrest on the streets of provincial cities. The right-wing protests were to call for tighter rules on asylum seekers, but some demonstrations turned violent as those involved clashed with police. New Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he supports law enforcement forces, calling the violent offenders extremists. David Garrett reports.
Stop their boats! Stop their boats! Stop the boats, these people yelled in Liverpool in what started as peaceful protests against too many immigrants entering the UK. The several days of unrest began after a stabbing at a playgroup dance party for young children, which happened about 20 miles away in Southport on Monday. A wave of anger has spread across the UK after false rumours spread that the assailant was a Muslim and an immigrant. A 17-year-old male has been arrested. Far-right supporters have called for tighter immigration. The crowds in Liverpool were involved in a tense standoff with police. There were similar scenes in other cities, including Leeds, Nottingham and Stoke-on-Trent. In the southwest city of Bristol, there were also people on the streets. It became heated as objects were hurled at riot police. Some officers were injured as they charged forward. Then they used dogs to push the crowds back, fearing a repeat of riots in recent days. Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a crisis meeting with the Cabinet.
Criminal violence and disorder has no place on Britain's streets. We've been clear to the police that they have our full backing in taking the strongest possible action against perpetrators, including we're making sure that there are more prosecutors, there are sufficient prison places, and also that the courts stand ready.
Court hours have been extended with dozens arrested across the British Isles, including in Northern Ireland.
Any person organising or taking part in the procession is committing an offence.
I want everyone to be clear. Anyone who gets involved in criminal disorder, violent thuggery on our streets will have to pay the price, and they should expect there to be arrests, prosecutions, penalties, and the full force of the law, including imprisonment.
Hotels that house asylum seekers have been targeted. David Garrett, TVB News.
Nowadays, China travel is a growing trend among foreign influencers and tourists looking to experience the country, partly thanks to the country's expanded visa-free travel policy. Some expats in Beijing have set up travel agencies to offer unique local experiences. Sakura Ip has more.
Capture the moment at an ancient drum tower. This is how these Polish tourists experienced China for the first time. Since July, tourists from Poland, along with Australia and New Zealand, can visit China visa-free.
It's very nice. I think that mainly history, but the nowadays view of China is for us also very interesting.
I wanted to come to China. I'm amazed by Chinese art, literature, visual arts.
Apart from the Great Wall and Forbidden City, the Bell and Drum Towers are also the popular attractions to foreign tourists. There were morning bells and dusk drum in ancient China. For the Drum Tower at the back, it was rebuilt in Ming Dynasty. China has widened its doors for foreign visitors. In Hainan province, a visa-free policy was implemented in May to welcome tourists from 59 countries. Foreign tour groups arriving by cruise ship in mid-May were also granted visa-free entry. Data shows that in the first half of 2024, there were more than 14.6 million inbound foreign visitors to China, with more than 8.5 million entering visa-free, nearly double the year-on-year figure.
Don't be worried, and these are super easy to ride.
Some are seeking immersive experiences.
On the bikes, riding through the alleys, seeing how everyone was living, being just part of the daily life of those who live in this area. I think for me it's to learn more about the culture of where my daughter is from, and for my daughter I think it's an opportunity, she's adopted from here, and so it's an opportunity for her to see China as an adult, to explore the culture a bit more.
As an economist, I think that my main attraction was the fact that I would be able to see the difference. When I was here before, it was mainly bicycles, and now I see some very, very fancy cars, and it tells me that China has had immense economic development.
Dom, who founded the agency offering immersive travel experiences, has been guiding expats in the capital for 5 years. Now, nearly 80% of his guests are tourists.
We send instructions to people of how to set up the Alipay, set up with your bank card, and authorize it with your bank before you get here. It can be a little bit difficult, and if you don't get it set up before coming to Beijing, it can sometimes be a little bit of an issue.
Sakarib, TVB News, Beijing.
The Hong Kong observation wheel is free of charge for revelers today as a sign of gratitude to the city's Olympic athletes. Queues could be seen around the Ferris wheel in Central even before it opened at 11 this morning. Both locals and tourists came prepared for the heat. The free rides will be available until 11 o'clock tonight. And a look at the weather for tomorrow. Mainly fine and isolated showers, light to moderate westerly winds. Temperatures will range between 29 and 34 degrees Celsius. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.